Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ahmed from TOEFL Secrets channel, and today we are going to explain task 3 on TOEFL speaking. We are going to use the written information from TOEFL Secrets book. If you guys don't know what this book is, you can check out the video that we talked more about it. You'll find the video in the Y exclamation icon. Go and check that video. So, in the previous videos we talked about task 1, task 2, and today we are going to talk about task 3. If you haven't checked the videos that we talked in the past, you can go and check them out, then come back to watch this. Now, task 3. Task 3, reading passage and a lecture. Next are the two integrated questions. Question 3 consists of a reading passage and a short lecture, and question 4 consists entirely of a somewhat longer lecture. Both questions are about content in academic courses. You are not expected to have any prior familiarity with the academic content. Okay, so guys, you don't need to have a prior knowledge about any themes. مو ضروري يكون عندكم خبرات سابقة في مواضيع أكاديمية حتى تجيبوا على الأسئلة. But all the answers that you need to answer the questions, you'll find them in the reading passage or on the listening material. Let's read these strategies. Focus on the title and write it in a short form. We read, try to understand the main idea of the passage. The passage could have one of the following scenarios. A. Explain a concept or listing types, factors, etc. When the professor tries to explain a concept, in this scenario try to read the concept's definition once or twice, or maybe you need to read it for triple times until you understand it. That's it. Don't try to finish the whole reading passage, because that's a waste of time. You only need to try to catch and determine the definition and understand it so that you can be able to explain it later on. You can take small notes while reading the definition. That's a good idea, but don't read the whole passage. You only need the definition, that's it. Okay, listing types, factors, etc. In this scenario, you should read the whole passage and try to understand it, especially the types or the factors. Okay, let's move on to template for task 3. From the reading passage, X is defined as. Instead of X, we can put the term, and here we could put its definition. The professor illustrates his or her argument about this subject by mentioning 2 or 1 example or types. It depends on the things the professor was explaining, whether it's types, whether it's examples. The first example or the first type is, then you mention it. The second example or the second type, then you mention it. You can add the optional sentence, which is, therefore these are great examples or main types of, and here you put the term. Okay, let's take an example. Explain clinical variation and how the examples used by the professor illustrate the concept. Examples. From the reading passage, the peak interval describes a theory that humans judge past experiences based upon a single high moment and in the end of the event, rather than judging by a sum of event in its entirety. Now I'm gonna pause for some seconds so you guys can read the example. Alright, let's move to another example. From the reading passage, a clinical variation is defined as. Here's the definition. The professor illustrates his argument about this subject by mentioning 2 examples. I mentioned the example, then the second example. Here we have some advices. Use simple words, not hard ones. As if you're speaking to your friend. Be careful of the grammatical mistakes. When you do a mistake, keep talking and and don't repeat the sentence because that affects your score. When you stop talking to think about what to say, don't repeat the sentence because repetition affects your score. Let's move to task 4, lecture only, no reading passage. In this question, you will not read a reading passage. In this question, you will listen to an excerpt from a lecture, then summarize the main concept using points and examples given in the lecture. Okay, here's the template. According to the X lecture, here we mention the type of the lecture, and the type will be mentioned at the beginning of the listening lecture. They will say listen to a business class or listen to a biology class, philosophy, whatever it is, you mention it here instead of X. Then the professor illustrates his or her argument about, here you mention the theme or the topic. We delete the subject and add the topic. By mentioning 2 examples or 2 types, whatever it is, the professor was explaining. The first, here you mention the first one, and then the second, then you mention the optional sentence, if you have a time, of course. Here we have the advices again. We try to repeat the advices so you guys be sure that you understood all of these pieces of advice. Okay, example, according to the biology lecture, the professor illustrates his argument about trees and their ability to survive by mentioning 2 examples. The first example, then the second. And here you mention the optional sentence if you have a time. I'm gonna pause for a while so you guys can read the example. Okay, now we are done with task 4. I'll see you guys in the next videos in writing section. If you guys enjoyed this video and got benefit from it, please subscribe to our channel, give it the thumbs up, write nice comments, and turn on the notification bell so you guys could be notified with the recent TOEFL videos. Until that time, thank you guys for listening and watching, and bye bye.